Hi everyone. So welcome back to our channel that is AI Deep Mind. So we are going to start with a brand new series that we call as a Docker, and this is going to be one of the most important factor for whether you are working as a Python developer or whether you are working for the machine learning or as a deep learning engineer, or whether even some application you want to deploy or you want to send that particular application to the different system. So that comes the use of the dockers, and docker is going to be used with the really the basics terminology we are going to discuss in the series. This will be the first video where we are going to see about the introduction to the dockers and where we are going to use the docker, how we are using the docker and the benefit of the dockers. Basically whenever we are working in some we can just say some company, so there the manager or you, even you the senior or some clients, they required say that we need all the we need all the dockerized code, the application or the requirement files and everything that should be contains in the one dockerized things. So once someone is going to take that docker file and suddenly they are going to hit in their system, then whole which application you have made, that's the same application or the same algorithms will be work to their system also. That is the use of the dockers, and we are going to discuss about the dockers in the more details. So basically what we do with the dockers, we have the container. So container provide a standard way to package your application code configuration and the dependency into a single object. You have a docker. So docker is basically a docker container. You have the container. This is the how it looks in the way they have just published the dockers they in their website. This is the docker how, and this is the basically your container. So you have some codes in that. You have whenever you are just whenever you are posting your code, you have some requirement files in that. You have say you have some version, like we can just say you are using OpenCV version as 4.3, or you are using something NumPy version as 2.3, or Python version as 3.8. So you have specific requirement files. What you do, you are just going to containerize all this thing, whether it is a code, whether which service you are using, which database you are using, and which libraries you are going to use. So whenever you have made one application or you have made one algorithm, now you want that particular application should be work same as it is in your system, is going to be work the same as it is for the other system also. Suppose you have just make one application and then after you are going to forward to the clients, but you did not share any requirement files. So either you have shared the requirement files, but there might be some dependency, like their system is a Ubuntu system, you have just done everything on the Mac OS or Windows. So your application or operating system might be the different, but with the help of docker, there is no worried about that whether it is a Mac OS or whether it is a Ubuntu server or whether it is a, we can say, cloud, or whether it is any operating system or any cloud. The whenever you are just dockerizing the whole code, service, database and libraries into a container, we call it this one as a container. Everything you are just going to dockerize into a container, and then after you are going to ship to this another person or another system that can be work as it is your in your system is going to be work, and they don't have to follow the which libraries they have to install or which requirement file they have to install. Everything will be there in this dockerized thing. So they have the only the plus point for this other systems will be the dockers will be running in their respective system. So once their docker is going to be run in the respective system, they don't have to do anything. They have to just build the docker, and then after they have to just run the docker. That is the really the first important point about the dockers. And again we are going to discuss about the container. So this is how the container is looks. Container basically means you are just packaging your code, your services, your data and libraries. They we call as a data sorry for that, docker container. Okay, so container provide you a standard way to package your application code, which code you are going to work on, how you are just connecting every code, and the configuration file, that is requirement file you have, the dependency into a single object. So we are just containerizing everything into a single object. And the second point is that in the easy word, we can just say that with the help of Docker container we can easily pack our Python code or whichever code you are working with, whether you are working with the C++ code, with the all the dependency into a container images. And then after what we do, we ship that into a other person. They can run such container on any operating system, whether you are going to work with the Mac OS or Windows or Linux operating system. But the plus point is that that particular system should support the Docker. The running the Docker should be run on that respective system, so that they can just run whichever the dockerizing file you have just sent or you have just shipped to that particular person or the other system. Okay, so the container image can pull, and even the plus point is that the container image can pull from the repository which you have just seen. Either it can be a GitHub link, or the GitHub resource file from where you are just pulling and everything, and it can just run on any operating system. This was about the view overview how the Docker is going to be work, because we are going to go with the more depth of the machine learning, deep learning, and then after we will see about NVIDIA and how everything is going to be work. We will take one real world example of face detection or object detection, and we will create the Docker file of everything, so that even we will use to the another system how we are going to run on that. And also the plus point is this is how we are going to look about the container image. So you have some libraries and the module, and you have some application code, you have all the Python interpreter and all the pip install requirement file, and also you have some operating system. We call that the which operating system we are going to use, whether it is a Windows operating system, Mac operating system, or Linux operating system. Whichever operating system we have, we can just go with this, making the if we by containerizing the all the things into a in we can just call as a Docker container, and then after we are just shipping to the different application, and that particular we call as is Docker. That is image, we are just building the image, and then after finally you are just running that Docker. Okay, that is basically you're running the container. So container basically means it contains all the code, all the services, all the database, all the libraries into a single container, and that container can be shipped to any other any other system, whether the system is a Mac OS, whether system is a Window, or whether the system is we can say any system we can just take operating system, and they can just run by hitting the simple code, that is Docker build, Docker run. So that was about the introduction about the Dockers. I hope so you understand about the Docker container, and we are going to start with the next video how we can just take the difference between the Dockerization versus virtual machine, and then after we are going to start with the Docker file, how we are just building the Docker file and everything in the much detail. So that's all for this video. Thank you.